What happens when the world's richest man thinks he can silence a rising political star with the stroke of a legal pen? When Elon Musk threatened to unleash his army of lawyers on Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, many expected her to fold under the weight of his fortune and influence. But instead, what followed was a shocking reversal that left Musk scrambling and humiliated in the public eye. Tonight, we peel back the curtain on a battle of money versus justice, a battle Musk never imagined he would lose. Elon Musk has always been larger than life, a tech titan who reshaped industries, launched rockets into space, and wielded influence with a single tweet. But his power hasn't just been confined to boardrooms and launch pads. Time and again he has dipped his hand into politics, using wealth as a weapon to silence critics. Jasmine Crockett, on the other hand, comes from a different world. A lawyer by training and now a fiery member of Congress, she has never shied away from confronting power head-on. Her sharp critiques of corporate greed and racial inequality have won her both admiration and fierce opposition. When Crockett took aim at Musk, exposing what she called the hypocrisy of billionaires profiting from public resources while undermining democracy, Musk's response was swift and brutal. His legal team drafted a lawsuit claiming defamation and reputational damage. For most, the threat of such a lawsuit would be enough to back down. After all, who wants to take on a man with seemingly endless resources? But Jasmine Crockett was not most people. She turned to her legal team, seasoned defenders who knew exactly how to handle bullies cloaked in wealth. What unfolded was not just a legal battle. It was a clash of narratives, one of unchecked privilege, the other of resilience and truth. And in this fight, Crockett's lawyer had a strategy that would flip the script entirely. As news of the EI lawsuit threat spread, the media pounced. Headlines screamed of a coming showdown: Elon Musk, the billionaire disruptor, versus Jasmine Crockett, the bold congresswoman unafraid to call out injustice. The public braced for what seemed like an uneven match. Musk's team leaked stories portraying him as the victim of unfair attacks, framing Crockett's words as reckless slander. On social media, his followers amplified the message, accusing her of targeting him simply for his success. But beneath the surface, Crockett's lawyer was quietly preparing a counterstrike. Rather than retreat, Crockett's team began digging into Musk's record: contracts with the government, subsidies that fueled his companies, controversies that had simmered for years but never reached full accountability. Each piece of evidence became a puzzle piece, forming a larger picture of hypocrisy. Musk, who prided himself on being a self-made genius, had in fact relied on taxpayer money, public trust, and government protection at every stage of his empire. The lawyer crafted a response that wasn't just legal, it was moral. They reframed the battle. This wasn't about Crockett damaging Musk's reputation. It was about Musk trying to weaponize the courts to silence a black woman in power. The racial and political undertones were impossible to ignore. The lawsuit was no longer just a legal dispute. It was a symbol of the imbalance between billionaires and everyday citizens. Tension escalated as both sides maneuvered. Reporters dug deeper, uncovering inconsistencies in Musk's claims. Analysts debated nightly on television. Was Musk overreaching? Was Crockett reckless? Or was this fight exposing something far larger, the way power shields the privileged, while punishing the outspoken? Crockett's supporters rallied, painting her as a modern David against Goliath. Petitions circulated, demanding that Musk drop the lawsuit threat. Activists pointed out the broader pattern: wealthy men using courts to intimidate women, especially women of color, who dared to speak truth to power. The pressure mounted on Musk, but he pressed forward, convinced his wealth could bend the narrative. Yet behind closed doors, cracks began to show. His lawyers were struggling, not because of Crockett's resources, but because of the overwhelming evidence her team had compiled. What Musk thought would be a swift silencing had transformed into a trial of his own credibility. And when Crockett's lawyer finally delivered their response, the world would witness a humiliation Musk could never have predicted. The courtroom was packed with cameras, journalists, and onlookers hungry for a spectacle. Musk's team entered confident, armed with binders of claims and the arrogance of wealth. But what came next was nothing short of a masterclass in dismantling power. Crockett's lawyer began by exposing the fragility of Musk's lawsuit. They highlighted how his claims of defamation were contradicted by his own public statements, tweets, and interviews. Musk had, on multiple occasions, mocked politicians, critics, and even average citizens with far harsher words than Crockett had ever used. If Musk wanted to define criticism as defamation, he would, by his own record, be guilty 1,000 times over. Then came the evidence: contracts showing billions in subsidies, reports of workplace violations, and records of government bailouts that Musk's empire had quietly benefited from. The narrative flipped on its head. Musk was not the victim of reckless words, he was the beneficiary of a system rigged in his favor. But the most devastating blow was the framing. This lawsuit wasn't about facts, it was about intimidation. Crockett's lawyer declared it a deliberate attempt to silence a black woman who dared to challenge one of the wealthiest men alive. The words echoed through the courtroom, reverberating far beyond its walls. By the time the lawyer concluded, the room was electric. Musk, who had entered expecting to assert dominance, sat visibly shaken. Cameras caught his discomfort, his jaw tightening as the narrative collapsed around him. The richest man in the world had just been humbled in the most public way possible, not by wealth or power, but by truth. The fallout was immediate. Musk's legal team quietly retreated, their lawsuit threat dissolving under the weight of public ridicule. News outlets replayed the courtroom highlights endlessly, each clip framing Musk not as a victim, but as a billionaire desperate to silence criticism. For Jasmine Crockett, it was a defining moment. She emerged stronger, her reputation as a fearless voice for justice cemented. Her lawyer's brilliance not only saved her from Musk's wrath, but also exposed the dangerous pattern of the powerful weaponizing the legal system against those who dare speak out. The story resonated beyond politics. It became a lesson about resilience, about the courage required to stand firm against giants, and about the importance of truth in the face of intimidation. And in the end, the image of Musk, uncomfortable, humiliated, stripped of his untouchable aura, served as a powerful reminder. Wealth may buy influence, but it cannot buy integrity. So the question remains, in a world where billionaires can threaten democracy itself, who will have the courage to speak truth to power next?